This week, I learned about eating. I learned about eating right, different ways people eat, how eating affects our body, and I'm sharing it here with you.
Hey there and welcome. Today we are going to cut through all the noise, all the hype around modern dieting, and really dig into what the science says about finding an eating pattern that actually works, and more importantly, one that you can stick with for the long haul. So let's just dive right in. Okay, so let's just kick things off with a question that I'm pretty sure most of us have asked at some point. Why do so many diets fail, right? I mean, we've all heard about and maybe even been on that frustrating yo-yo dieting roller coaster. You know, the one where you lose the weight, you feel great, and then boom, it all comes back, sometimes with a few extra pounds. It's such a common struggle, but here's the thing. It's probably not about a lack of willpower. It's usually because we've been taught to misunderstand what a diet really means. Yeah, see, when you look at it from a medical or scientific standpoint, a diet isn't a 30-day challenge or some quick fix. It's just your long-term pattern of eating. That's it. The real goal here isn't just about making a number on the scale go down temporarily. It's about supporting your body's metabolic function for the long run, for your whole life. And honestly, just shifting your mindset to think about it that way, that's the first and probably the most important step to actually succeeding. Okay, so at the most basic level, really, it all comes down to physics. You've probably heard of the calories in, calories out model, or CICO. And yeah, that's the foundation. To lose weight, you have to be in what's called an energy deficit. Basically, you burn more calories than you take in. Sounds simple, right? But here's the catch. Our bodies are, well, they're incredibly complex. We have all these biological systems that are literally designed to resist weight loss. So that's why CICO, while it's true, is really just the beginning of the story. So what modern science is telling us is that real sustainable success relies on three big pillars that all work together. Pillar number one is the amount of food. That's our calories. Pillar two is the type of food, our macros, proteins, fats, and carbs. And the third pillar, which is getting a ton of attention lately, is the timing of our meals. There's even a whole field of science for it called chrononutrition. Getting these three things in sync, that is the real secret sauce. All right, so let's start with the gold standards. We're going to dive into the two eating patterns that have the most solid, consistent backing from scientific research for long-term health. And just to be clear, these aren't fads. These are frameworks built on decades of evidence that are all about food quality and making changes you can actually live with. So let's put these two head to head. First up, you've got the Mediterranean diet. You know this one. Lots of olive oil, plants, fish. It's an absolute powerhouse for cutting your cardiovascular risk and taming inflammation. In fact, some studies show people on it are actually twice as likely to keep the weight off for good. Then you have the DASH diet. Now, this one was created specifically to lower blood pressure, so it really hones in on fruits, vegetables, and important minerals while keeping sodium low. See the common thread here? Neither of these is about crazy restriction. It's all about building your meals around foods that are packed with nutrients. Okay, now let's switch gears completely. We're moving away from patterns that focus on food quality and into diets that work by fundamentally changing how your body generates energy. And this is where things get super interesting from a biology perspective. The key process we're talking about here is called ketosis. So what happens is, when you slash your carbohydrate intake way down, your body runs out of its favorite fuel, which is glucose. It kind of panics for a second and then kicks into its backup plan. Your liver starts breaking down fat into these little molecules called ketones, and your brain, your muscles, they can actually use these ketones for energy. It's a massive metabolic shift that basically turns your body into a fat-burning machine. But, and this is a huge but, getting into ketosis and staying there, the rules are incredibly strict. A standard keto diet isn't just low carb. It is extremely high fat. Think about this. We're talking 70 to 80% of your total daily calories have to come from fat. So yeah, this is not something you just wing. It takes serious tracking and a whole lot of commitments. But here's where it gets really weird. A fascinating biological paradox. A big study in 2021 found that even though your body is busy burning all this fat for fuel, your brain can interpret the lack of glucose as an energy crisis. It calls it a cellular internal starvation. And what happens then? Well, your body can launch a counterattack. It can ramp up your cravings for sweets and actually slow down your metabolism to try and save energy. Wild, right? And that really just perfectly highlights the two sides of the keto coin. Look, in the short term, say up to about 6 months, it can be super effective for quick fat loss and for getting blood sugar under control. But the research also shows some pretty significant long-term challenges. A lot of people get the dreaded keto flu when they start, and that initial weight loss advantage, it often disappears after about a year. Not to mention, sticking with it long-term can come with some real nutritional risks. Okay, so we've talked a lot about what to eat. Now let's explore a totally different strategy that's all about when you eat. This whole approach is about using your body's own natural daily clocks to boost your metabolic health, often without having to count every single calorie. Now, intermittent fasting, or IF, isn't really one single diet. It's more like a collection of different eating schedules. Probably the most popular one you've heard of is the 16-8 method. You fast for 16 hours, and you do all your eating within an 8-hour window. The idea is that by stretching out that time between meals, you help keep your insulin levels low, which tells your body, hey, it's time to start burning some stored fat. And for a lot of people, just managing a schedule is way easier than tracking every morsel of food. And that brings us to a really crucial point. It's not just about the number on the scale going down. It's about the quality of that weight loss. What you're losing is just as important as how much you're losing. And this is where exercise becomes non-negotiable. So get this, it's kind of startling. If you don't plan carefully, 20 to 30% of the weight you lose on a typical diet can actually be precious muscle. And losing muscle is a total double whammy. First, it slows down your metabolism, which makes it way easier to gain the weight back. And second, it can make you weaker and more prone to injury, especially as you get older. And look, the findings from a huge 2024 meta-analysis, that's a study of studies, could not be clearer on this. The researchers ranked all these different diet and exercise combos, and what came out on top? The classic approach, calorie restriction combined with exercise. It is still the undisputed gold standard for losing both total weight and body fat. Sure, other methods work, but this combination consistently gets the best results. But check this out. This is so important. When you change the goal from just lose weight to lose weight while keeping my muscle, the best strategy seems to be different for men and women. That same massive study found that for men, calorie restriction plus exercise was still the best for protecting muscle. But for women, time-restricted feeding, that's the 16-8 style of fasting, combined with exercise was actually better for holding on to muscle. This is a huge clue that the future is all about personalized nutrition. Okay. So let's try to pull all of this together. We've thrown a lot of options at you. So how in the world do you figure out what's going to work for you, for your life, for your body, for your goals? Let's break down who these different approaches are generally best for, based on the clinical evidence. All right, so based on all the evidence, if you have high blood pressure, the DASH diet is your go-to. For general long-term health and reducing inflammation, the Mediterranean diet is pretty much the ideal choice. Keto? Think of that as a short-term, powerful tool, but it's really best used with a doctor's guidance for a specific reason. And intermittent fasting? That's a fantastic fit if you're someone who likes structure and would rather manage a schedule than count calories. And before you jump into any new eating pattern, I want you to run it through this simple 5-point checklist, okay? Number 1, longevity. Ask yourself honestly, can I see myself eating this way 5 years from now? Number 2, social life. Does this plan let me eat out with friends? Does it fit with my family's traditions? 3, feasibility. Are the foods easy to find? Can I actually afford them? 4, energy. Is this going to give me enough fuel for my workouts and just for life? And number 5, gut health. Is it giving me enough fiber? Look, if a plan can't check off these 5 boxes, the chances of you sticking with it are, let's be honest, pretty slim. So where is this all headed? What's next? Well, the science of nutrition is moving so fast, and it's definitely leaving the one-size-fits-all model in the dust. The next big frontier is personalized nutrition, and it's probably going to be based on analyzing our unique gut microbiome. You know, the trillions of tiny bacteria in our gut that affect everything from how we absorb nutrients to our appetite. It really makes you wonder, right? Is the best diet of the future going to be one that is designed from the ground up specifically for you? When you boil it all down, the takeaway from all this science is actually pretty simple. The most effective diet isn't a diet at all. It's a permanent lifestyle, one that respects your unique body, protects your muscle, and is something you can actually enjoy for good. And of course, because every single one of us is different, it is so important to talk to a doctor or a registered dietitian before you make any big changes. They can help make sure the plan you choose is safe and right for you.
Now you know how to eat right and stay healthy. If you learned something new and exciting, share it here. I want to know about it too.